Do you know what is really weird about Rihanna? She has not released an album in over a decade. She is sitting on one of the most loyal fan bases in music history, a multi-billion-dollar empire, and a Super Bowl halftime show under her belt. And she has gone almost 10 years without giving those fans a single studio record. That is just one of the problems. And honestly, it is not even close to the most complicated one. So, the problem with Rihanna. There are 4 of them, and each one gets more intense to ignore than the last. Problem 1. She went back to Chris Brown. In February 2009, around 12:30 a.m. before the Grammy, Chris Brown assaulted Rihanna in a rented Lamborghini. He punched her multiple times, held her in a headlock, bit her ears and fingers, and threatened to kill her. Police photos of her face went everywhere. Brown pleaded guilty to felony assault and was sentenced to 5 years probation and community service. And then Rihanna went back to him. Now look, she was 20 years old, and she was honest about it in a way most people in her position never are. She told ABC News she worried about what he was going through. She described him to Diane Sawyer as her first big love and her best friend. She even said she had promised her younger self she would never end up in a relationship like the one she watched at home growing up. She knew what she was walking back into, and she went back anyway. Rihanna is not just a normal person making a private decision. She is one of the most watched women on the planet with one of the youngest fan bases in music. Young girls were watching everything she did after that assault, and she knew it. She said it herself when she realized her decision could influence a young girl somewhere watching her. She said she could not live with that easily. She said those exact words. And then she went back regardless. The contradiction is right there on the record. She understood the weight of what she was doing, said so publicly, and did it anyway. That is the part that is genuinely uncomfortable. Not going back, people do that. But the uncomfortable part is that she publicly acknowledged the responsibility and then set it aside. That is problem 1. And if you think that 1 is uncomfortable, problem 2 involves a person who was supposed to be on her side. Subscribe so you do not miss where this goes. Problem 2. The father who used her name to make money. Right after the Chris Brown assault, while Rihanna was still out of the public eye and recovering, her father Ronald Fenty went to the press and sold information about her. She told Vogue in 2011 that he never once called to check if she was alive after the attack. He went straight to a journalist and got paid. She said it made her question what she even meant to him. That alone is a serious thing. But it did not stop there. In 2019, Rihanna sued her own father. In a federal California lawsuit, she accused Ronald Fenty and his business partner Moses Perkins of running a company called Fenty Entertainment and using her name to scam millions from third parties, pretending to be her official representatives. According to the lawsuit, they negotiated 15 shows in Latin America for $15 million without her knowledge. They even attempted to trademark the Fenty name for a line of resort boutique hotels. The man tried to put her name on a hotel chain without asking her. The lawsuit stated clearly that Ronald Fenty had never, at any point, been authorized to act on Rihanna's behalf. She eventually dropped the suit in 2021, reportedly settling out of court. And keep in mind, this is the same person she had paid $58,000 in 2013 to put through a Malibu rehab program to keep him out of jail for a California arrest. She had already sent him home from her own tour before that for drunken behavior. She kept showing up for him financially, professionally, and personally. And he kept doing this. That is the problem here. Her father did behave badly, but the thing is, she had every reason to see it coming. And she kept protecting him anyway. And in the end, she still had to take him to federal court to protect her own name that she built herself. That is problem 2. Problem 3 is one she walked directly into herself, and it cut right through the thing her whole brand is built on. Problem 3. The Savage X Fenty Hadith incident. Rihanna built Savage X Fenty on one idea, that everyone is included, everyone is welcome, and everyone belongs. That was not just some marketing line, the entire foundation of what made the brand different. And then in 2020, during the second Savage X Fenty show on Amazon Prime, models danced in lingerie to a song called Doom by London-based producer Cuckoo Chloe. That song sampled a sacred Islamic hadith, the recorded sayings and actions of the Prophet Muhammad, which is among the most revered texts in Islam. The backlash from Muslim fans was immediate. People who had praised Rihanna specifically because she made them feel seen and included felt genuinely blindsided. and they were right to feel that way. Rihanna apologized on Instagram, calling it an honest yet careless mistake and saying its use was completely irresponsible. The song was removed from all streaming platforms. Many people accepted the apology and moved on. But what actually makes this into a problem is that the entire promise of Savage X Fenty is that you do not get treated like an afterthought. That is literally what the brand is selling. And somehow the show went out with sacred Islamic scripture playing underneath lingerie models, and nobody in the entire production caught it before it went live on one of the biggest streaming platforms in the world. A brand built entirely on the promise of being felt valued, safe, and empowered failed the specific people it promised to include. That is not a small oversight or something like that. It is really a problem at the very core of what the brand says it stands for. 3 problems down. The fourth one is quieter than the rest. But honestly, it might be the most telling of all. Problem 4. The album that never came. Rihanna's last studio album was Anti. It came out in January 2016. It reached #1 on the Billboard 200. It gave the world work and needed me. Rihanna herself has called it her greatest work, and then nothing. There is no album for nearly a decade. She had 3 children with A$AP Rocky, headlined the Super Bowl halftime show in 2023, and built a multi-billion-dollar empire across beauty, lingerie, and fashion in that time. In early 2024, A$AP Rocky said she was working on music. As of now, it still has not arrived. Fans have been openly frustrated for years. When she posted a New Year's resolution on Instagram, fans commented that her resolution should be releasing the album. She replied like, "This comment is so 2019, grow up," completely unbothered, entirely on her own timeline. And look, it is her music and her career and ultimately her call. Nobody is saying she owes anyone anything, but nearly a decade without a studio album from one of the most commercially successful recording artists alive is not nothing. Anti has spent over 500 weeks on the Billboard 200 long after its release, because the demand never went away. That kind of loyalty is rare. Almost nobody holds it and then does nothing with it. The fans who built that career did so on the back of that music. Whether the silence bothers her or not, it clearly bothers a lot of people who have stayed loyal for a very long time, and they have earned the right to say so. So those are the 4 problems with Rihanna. A decision she made that she admitted she could not fully justify. A father who kept taking from her no matter how many times she showed up for him. A brand built on inclusion that failed the very people it promised to include. And nearly a decade of silence from the artist her fans first fell in love with. None of this fades the icon. Thanks for watching. What surprised you most? Drop it in the comments below. And if you want to see your favorite celebrity covered next, leave their name down there too. Subscribe for more stories like this one. See you soon.